Hello, I'm going to tell you about Lost Adventures, a game I designed with Steve Sisk. It's for 2 to 4 players, and it's an adventure archaeology movie game. So think Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, The Goonies. Your goal is at the end of the game to be the furthest along this temple track without your face melting off. Now, the game consists of 2 phases. There's a map phase and a temple phase, and there are 3 elements that are used in both of these phases. The first is your tableau of character cards. These have icons, blue icons that help in the map phase, gold icons that help in the temple phase, and these are attributes of your character. You're bold, you're daring, intrepid, whatever. And adding cards to this tableau represents establishing things about your character in an early scene that are later going to be pertinent in a future scene in the movie, you could say. The second element are these temple secrets cards. They contain the information about where is the temple, what are the perils you're going to face in the temple, what is the nature of the true grail. And in the map phase, you're going to get information, or you're going to get to look at these cards, and then in the temple phase, you're going to use that information. It's almost like a quiz on how well you did getting information. The third element are these hubris discs. You're going to acquire these in both phases. They're very helpful, but they are very dangerous as well. All right, let's talk about how the game works. In the map phase, you get 5 turns, and in each turn, you do 4 things. First, you're going to move to a different city. So maybe I'm going to go to Bucharest here. Then you're going to face an encounter. You flip a card that matches the city's shape, and it tells you, okay, I face the basket game encounter. It's a luck encounter. So I look and see I have 2 luck symbols in my tableau, so I have 2 automatic successes, we say. And then I roll the dice. These would be custom dice in a real production, but I will get some additional successes or maybe a conditional success where I have to take hubris to get it. But then I'm also, depending on the results, maybe going to have to move the enemy toward my city. If the enemy reaches me, I either lose one of my successes or have to discard a card. So that's kind of a bummer. But either way, I count up my successes. Let's say I had 3. Now, the number of successes you have tells you the level of clue you're able to look at. Here I'm in Bucharest, and there's a purple symbol here. That means I'm authorized to look at purple information here. And if I had 3 successes, there are 3 cubes for these clues, so I could look at either one of these. So let's say I want to look at this one, and it has creepy eyes. So I know I'm going to face creepy eyes in the temple. Now, if I want to, I can also take one of the cubes from a clue that I looked at, and that is going to make that information easier for other players to acquire, but this is going to help me later on, as we'll hear about. And then the fourth and final thing I do in my turn is I can add a card to my tableau, and so maybe I'm going to use the knowledge I just gained and add a card to help prepare for that in the temple. Okay, so we're going to do that 5 times, and then after that we enter the temple. First we're queried on, do we know where the start city, where the temple is located? If we do, we get to scoot along the temple track a little bit. And then we're into the temple perils, and we're going to face them one at a time. So to face a peril, we're going to simultaneously bid for how much hubris we're willing to take on. Maybe I bid 3. Let's say we're on this peril here. Maybe I bid 3 for that one. And then we reveal the nature of the peril, and we add to our bid the symbols we have that match the peril. So I add 2, so I have a total bid of 5. And so now we move along the temple track based on how many players have a lower bid than us. So if I bid 5 and blue bid 4 and pink bid 1, I would get to move 2 spaces because I have a higher bid than either of the 2 of them. And so then we do that through all the perils. We go to the Grail room and see who knows which is the correct Grail. That also lets you scoot along the track a little bit. And then whoever is furthest along the track after that is the winner. Except no, they're not, because we still have hubris and we have to purge ourselves of hubris in the final hubris challenge. So we're going to do that by rolling our dice 4 times. And each success that you get in this roll purges 1 hubris. Now these cubes come back into play because you can pay these to roll the special bonus die, which has some additional symbols on it that help you get rid of hubris. If you don't get rid of all of your hubris, your face has melted off and you're eliminated from the game. But if you do purge all of your hubris, then of those players, the one that's furthest along the temple track is the winner of the game. All right, that is the basic gist of the game, and this is a good place to stop, but I'll keep going with a couple of small details that I skipped over. So if you want the full gory details of the game, we'll keep going with a couple of more things. First is in the map phase, you can see that after the first turn, each turn marker has a cube color. If you are holding at the start of your turn that cube color, you get a boost on your turn. That means an extra move, an extra success, or an extra card action at the end of your turn. A second thing I'll mention is these black cubes. Wherever the enemy ends up, we add a black cube to that city, and when you face an encounter, whatever city you're in, the enemy moves one space toward you for the black cubes in your city. And then in addition, any successes that they roll. So as these build up, the enemy starts to get quite mobile. A third thing I'll mention is that in the temple phase, the enemy is actually facing these, or is bidding along with you. You can see on each peril, there's an enemy icon that tells you what the enemy's bid is. It goes from 1 to 5. And so, the further along you go, the more aggressive the enemy is becoming, and it's harder to outbid the enemy. But if you do, that gives you an extra space of movement. And then the last thing are these gates. You can see on the track there are these gate spaces. They aren't movement spaces. They're just, if you happen to be through them by the time that gate shows up on this track, then you get an extra card action. So you get to add an additional card to your tableau. And that's useful if you have some knowledge about what's coming later in the temple. This gives you the ability to change out cards and, benefit from the knowledge that you have. Okay, so that is the overview of how to play Lost Adventures. Hope you'll be interested to hear more about it or give it a play. Thanks.